For news and information that matters. 938 Now.
You're on 938 Now, your morning fix with Keith and myself, Paul Sung. And coming up right now is our discussion on PSLE. Specifically, now, as mentioned earlier, the PSLE results was released on Friday. No doubt there was elation and some disappointment as well. And not all of these emotions were of those of students. Some parents felt it more keenly than their children.
Broken-hearted parents.
Well, the Education Ministry is trying to reduce that excessive emphasis on grades. For example, from 2021, it will be replacing the aggregate score for the PSLE results with a wider scoring bands. In the meantime, we look at the current landscape and how much work needs to be done to reduce the stressful overemphasis on academics. Well, joining us this morning to start our discussion is Mr. Jason Ng, a family life educator with Families for Tomorrow Services, which conducts enrichment programs in schools. Now, he's also the founder of PSLE Hub, a portal that equips parents with resources to develop their children holistically. And we'd like to say good morning, Jason.
Hey, good morning.
Now, must be a busy weekend for you.
Oh, yes.
Are you counseling parents or children after the results?
Oh, in fact, the preparation starts as early as 2016 January.
Right. Okay.
It's not about when the results are out. It's about how you pace yourself since the beginning of the year. And then even just this weekend, we have a talk, choosing your child's secondary school. Right. And my room was packed. 100 families.
Wow.
And for the first time, I see both fathers and mothers attending the talks together.
Is that changed?
It have not changed. In fact, last year, it was the same. And last year, I got a sponsor, and they gave me a huge auditorium, and it was packed too.
At the start of our discussion, we mentioned that the Education Ministry is trying to reduce the excessive emphasis on grades. From your perspective, having a room filled with parents, how much do you think that progress has been made?
Okay, I think like what you mentioned just now, the changes, 21.8, they're going to do away with the aggregate score, but to replace it with a wider band. And the other one is about, they call it DSA, Direct School Admission, where it's not just about academic results. They will also look at sports, talent. I mean, basically, they're going into like arts and music, into performance, into science, and doing away with reading, writing, and arithmetic. That is on the national policy level. Okay. But as a practitioner, I was just sharing with Paul just now, as a practitioner, and I'm doing this for the last 12 years, I do realize that parents' concerns are still about grades, because better grades, better marks translate to
better schools.
Better schools, but more choices.
Okay.
And really, even this morning before I start off my car, early in the morning, 6:15, I received a text from my parents, my child scored this score below expectation. Say, I'm in the dilemma. The choices are limited, and it's some schools she's too good for it. The school that she desires, she's not up to it. So that's this dilemma. That's this thing that a lot of parents are concerned that you have to do well, and because then they can go to a better school with a better environment, and that is the practical concern.
You talked about the reduced emphasis on reading, writing, and arithmetic. Is that even possible? How is that going to translate into what this child will be down the road?
Yeah, what they're going to say is that for DSA now, it used to be able to score sterling results in your primary 5. You are able to use academic, and you get a place of the school. Yeah,
sure.
And it's only limited to certain schools in those days. Right. But now they're going to open up DSA to every school. And it's not just academic. And it's not just assessment. Now they can have questionnaires, they can assessment tests, they can have audition, they can have putting the child to performance and all this just to assess the child to get into school. That offers this so-called special niche and all. So when I mention doing away with the reading and all, that means it's just moving away from academic.
Okay.
Yeah, they want the child to be an all-rounder.
All right.
Yes.
But based on what you say, the parents tend to think that a success is basically to a better school. Do you think that's too short-term a view?
Yes. As an educator, we got to see both sides. Right. There are parents who, maybe from their own experience, they didn't do well in their school days. So they kind of translate into they want their children to do well. Because they know that without a good education, they were like marginalized in the workplace, they didn't get the opportunities. So what happened is that for some parents, they take this and displays it on their child, and they want their child to do well. I got parents who will quit their job, and tell the son and the daughter, I quit this year for your PSLE, so you better do well.
It seems like a big burden for the child to be bearing.
But having said that, out there, in my years of working with our students and all, there is also the emphasis on character, on values, and I think very importantly, it's about communication skills too. And you can have top academic grade because no employer is going to ask you, what's your aggregate score in PSLE?
Right.
Your results give you that first interview. You have to perform in the interview. Subsequently, you got to show that you can think out of the box. Because at the end of the day, we are all paid to solve problems for our employers.
Sure.
Even if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm paid to solve problems. I make a profit because I'm solving people's problems.
Right.
So solving people's problems requires not just a high aggregate score, but you need to have good creative thinking skills. You need to have resilience. You need to be resourceful. And all.
can these things be taught within the current curriculum in schools?
Okay. I work with schools, right? Because there are vendors who will provide training to the schools on leadership, entrepreneurship, or creating thinking skills and all. I work on the parenting component.
Okay.
Now, I think two things is, number one, some of this training are very structured.
Right.
I'm a proponent that creative thinking has to be hands-on and out there, but not as in a classroom with some curriculum. I don't think you can train creative
We've
thinking
also
this
been
way.
told that collaborative learning
Yes.
these days
Yes.
should be the way
Yes.
to go when
Yes.
you're trying to think out of the box to
Yes.
solve a problem.
Yes. And the other thing is that some of this training, as a parent coach, I realize that parents, they are not aware what the children are doing.
Oh, dear.
So you have a bit of short circuit where the front door for the student are wide open, but they come in, they get out. So because the parents are not in the loop, because we organize an entrepreneurship training for secondary school students.
Right.
We spend $3,000 just to advertise on the media. We receive 3 calls. Jason, what's this course? I said, this is what, no need. I want my child to do well in school. Another call. So it's an emphasis on results. Because why? Parents are not taught the mindset that, hey, it's not just about aggregate.
So
It's
how
not just
would
a
you
result.
bridge that gap between yourself and the parents to communicate that it's not just about results?
Yeah. So that is why myself, my fellow
Educators.
we're not trying to say we're doing a very noble project, but we believe that instead of, you look at the internet today, there are a lot of critics, there are a lot of internet
Right.
warriors who will just take a swipe, But we are doing our part to educate parents, to tell parents that, things have to change.
We have to stop Jason for just a moment for the news. But Jason, when we come back, I want to talk to you about the fact that with disruption, in this new term, everyone is using disruption these days. Some of the professions that parents are aiming or grooming their children for may not exist when they finish school.
Exactly.
So have they not come on board the fact that, creative thinking and entrepreneurship may be the way to go?
Yep. That's right.
And whilst we'll be discussing that, do keep your calls and comments coming in as well. 669-11938 as we open our phone lines and also on our Facebook page.
Indeed.
To send us a question or comment about what you think. Are we placing too much emphasis on the grades of PSLE results? Stay tuned for that.
In the know, on the go. 938 Now.
It's Talkback right here on 938 Now with Keith D'Souza, myself, Paul Singh, and our guest for today, Mr. Jason. Mr. Jason Ng is the family life educator with Families for Tomorrow services, and we're talking about PSLE results and should we place emphasis on just the grades? Well, to give a perspective right now, we've also got Lohish, who is a student in his 20s. He did not do well for his PSLE because he was playful. Like many of us, he thinks at 12 years old, it's too early for children to be labeled as unsuccessful if they do not do well in PSLE. Well, speaking to us on the line now, good morning, Lohish. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hi, morning.
Morning. Can you first tell us, how did you do for your PSLE?
Well, I had a grade of 137 for my PSLE, and my only path was to go to normal technical stream, unlike others who have the opportunity to go to normal academic and express. So, yeah, I did pretty bad for my PSLE.
So did you take that route? Did you go to the normal technical stream?
Yeah, that's the only route I have.
Okay.
So I have to go for it.
Now, when you received your PSLE results and you saw your peers obviously doing better than you, how did that make you feel?
Well, I wasn't too focused on the grades. Again, I was quite playful. I didn't too focus on the PSLEs and stuff. It was another exam. That's what came to my mind. But seeing my friends, because I was one of the lowest in the class, and seeing my friends getting a good grades and stuff, it made me think like, hey, why didn't I do well, But I was happy because the moment I received my results, the only thing I saw was getting a B for my Tamil, and I was super happy about it because it made a change in my grades. I've been keep failing and failing. At least I'm able to see a B on my Tamil, and I was quite happy about it rather than being sad about it.
Lohesh, what was the reaction of mom and dad?
Wow, okay, because during my time, my mom and dad they were waiting outside, patiently for my grades. So the moment I received my grades, all the parents are pretty stressed out, right? They are waiting for their kids' grades and stuff. So the moment I went out, instead of saying my overall aggregate score, I said, Mom, Dad, great, I got a B for my Tamil. And they were like, hey, come on, so what do you got for your overall? And I told them I got 137. And I was cool about it. And my parents' face was totally changed. It was a totally different game. They were really disappointed. But then it's just a pure disappointment overall after getting my grades.
Now, looking back, would you do anything differently?
Looking backwards, I would say, because I was, to be honest, PSLE at a very young age is pretty stressful on younger days kids. And I feel that the playfulness, which is the one which made me into this kind of results. If I do have the right focus, if I did have the right mindset, the right attitude, I could have passed the PSLE. So, yeah, that could be a change in me if talking about my past, yes.
Do you think resilience, Lohesh, should be taught in primary schools? We can't all be scholars and getting an A on every particular subject. Something's got to give. You talked about playfulness. Did anyone in school perhaps try to steer you perhaps off the playful path?
Clear me off the playful parts. No, I was just playful. Many helped me. In fact, my dad, my parents were. In fact, a circle of my friends were also trying to motivate me to push on. But again, I was kind of playful and stuff. But I feel that if there's a changes, small mini changes, you can try to improve on your life. Because at that time when I was young, I didn't have anything in my mind other than playing games and soccer. And everyone was like trying to be disappointed with me, trying to push me and stuff. But again, I was still young. I was still young and playful.
Sure, you bring up the issue of being young. Do you think 12 is too early to benchmark somebody?
I feel, this is a very early stage to benchmark. Because once I get my PSLE, straight away parents will start to compare the marks with their friends and, and from there they will, they will start to pick on students who are like, oh, your son is going to normal technical stream, so he's going to face a lot of difficulties. Will he be able to aim high? Will he be able to go to university? So these are the many things could affect the student. I was really down by this. I was morally down. But again, this moral down brought me to a success because of you got the anger to succeed. You want to succeed in life. People are looking at you down and you just want to ask yourself, you want to tell yourself, hey, you know what, I'm going to just pull out my sports and just go to whack it off, give it all my best. So it's the mini changes that you need. Yeah.
Well, Lohesh, thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing your experience and giving us a perspective of how it's like when, your experience of not doing well for PSLE. We're talking about PSLE results, whether we're placing too much emphasis on the grades itself, and if so, what can we do otherwise? We'd like to hear from you. 669-11938 is the number to dial, and also you can write your comments or questions on our Facebook page as well. Now, Jason, going back to you, you've heard Lohesh's story, your comment on that.
Oh, I would like to congratulate Lohesh. I believe from what he just shared, I believe the PSLE was his lowest point.
Right.
He went on to become a turning point in his life.
Indeed.
I mean, I don't know him, but from what he said, I believe he has made a change. But having said that, you realize in his conversation, a lot of time he was saying that I was playful, I didn't care, So what's this about? At the end of the day, and I like what he said, that you should have the right mindset. You should have good time management. You need to set your goals. You need to be able to rise up from failures. But so isn't that same kind of traits that we need, not just in PSLE?
Exactly.
Indeed.
We
In
need
life.
this kind of traits in our working life.
Indeed.
I like his comment about how his failure has driven him
Yes.
to do well.
Yes.
Well, we've got a caller on the line right now to share his view. Good morning, Kelvin.
Hi, morning, Paul. Morning, Jess.
Morning, go ahead.
Morning.
Hi. I would say it's a good gauge because as what your the previous caller said, it was his big turning point. It was also my big turning point because I was the only one in my class to actually go to a school where no one else went. It wasn't a good school, and everyone was like putting me down, and that woke me up. I was very playful at that time. I thought that nothing could stop me. I was smart. I was this. I was just maybe I would say overconfident, and it became a very good turning point. And it depends on how you want to make yourself respond to this kind of difficulty or this kind of hardship. I think it does build up quite a fair bit of resilience, but I guess family plays a big part in this also.
And Kelvin, if I can ask, how did your parents reacted to your PSLE results when you got them?
I guess it did not help that I had a cousin who was the same age as me, and he did a lot better. So
Right.
my parents were quite upset that I didn't do as well as my cousin. But that became a motivation factor. So a lot, I think, depends on the parents, because my parents were like, "No, yes, this is what has happened. You can't turn it around. You can only move on from here and just make sure you do better."
Well,
Wow.
thank you,
Okay.
Kelvin, for your call and sharing with us your experience. And now, just before we get your reaction, Jason, we've got Pradeen on the line. Good morning, Pradeen.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Hi, we're good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just, I heard the previous person who commented that he was very playful and he didn't get very good PSLE marks, but then I think he bounced back in life. And I have one simple comment that I believe the system of judging children at such a young age itself to totally stop. I really feel that, we have a system in Singapore where children, based on the PSLE grades, they go to the secondary schools, right?
Yes.
So if we have a system where you have 12 years of schooling together in the same school in which you enter, you don't even need to judge any kid at a PSLE stage and accordingly put him into a secondary school. So let them continue in whatever school they are, and that's it's 12 years of education, and then you judge them just before going to the university.
Well,
I think that
Pradeen,
should ease off the tension. Yeah.
Pradeen, thank you so much for your suggestion. We'll have Jason
Respond to that.
Respond to that after the news
Indeed.
update right here on 938 Now. Keep those calls coming in and comments as well on Facebook. We'd certainly like to hear from you. We're talking about PSLE. Are we placing too much emphasis on grades?
We're with you on 938 Now.
You're tuned to your morning fix on 938 Now. It's talkback time and we're talking about PSLE results. Are we placing too much emphasis on the grades? And joining us in the studio to give a perspective on this is Mr. Jason Ng, a family life educator with Families for Tomorrow Services, which conducts enrichment programs in schools. We're inviting you to call in now, 66911 as we've had a couple of callers just before we went for the break who talked about their experiences. We had Kelvin who shared with us his experience of getting PSLE results and also how he had supportive parents telling him that it was okay, it's fine. And then we've got Pradeen who called in to share with us an idea of how we can place less emphasis on the grades. Well, Jason, I know that's quite a lot to take at the moment, but do give us your perspective.
On Pradeen's suggestion
on-
of 12 years.
Yeah, I think on Pradeem, I would suggest that listeners or parents, we should go into the MOE website.
Indeed.
And look at the various path that MOE, the system. You can go to you have the integrated route, the IB route, you have the express route, you got the normal academic, the normal tech, the IT and all.
Sure.
I think, yes, some people may say that 12 years old too young. But having said that, there must be a system that allow you to benchmark.
Sure. Sure. Even if you want to get into certain universities, they need to have a track record.
So you can't have a very simplistic that, everything is just the same.
Mm-hmm.
So that part, I'll leave it as that. I think Kevin talked about parenting, and I think that's important.
Right.
You know, I believe that this thing about, your child go to a certain school, they are doomed to fail, and then IT, I find that one of the worst joke I've heard in my life is that, there are some people who claim that IT is the end. Now I think that is a bad joke.
It's nasty.
And that is a nasty comment. And I always tell my parents, and please take that away from you, because it's very nasty. Because I trained the directors of ITE and all, and they are very passionate people. They really have a heart to want to help. And we boast of the best facilities in ITE.
Right.
I traveled for my business last time. I think our IT can be even better than some universities that I've seen.
Sure.
You look at IT Central, you look at IT CMA and all, they boast of huge facilities, curriculum and all. So there is a path. It's just that this perception, right, that, you get to IT, you go to normal tech. Now, even in normal tech, normal acad, I get invited to train the students from normal acad that, give them a break, give them a chance, So that is really what we need to do, parents, is to look for information. Yeah.
Sounds like it's more of communicating to parents more.
Indeed.
And, we've got Peter on the line, who's been holding on the line for quite a while. Thank you for holding on the line, Peter. Your comment. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I totally agree with our guest about the fact that you can't run away from certain set examination hurdles. It's just not realistic to expect trouble-free and honeymoon kind of life. But what we don't have in our local system is that you don't have cross paths and a plan B. It's like if you don't do well for a particular exam, you can't ever recover back. It's very hard. Even for a very outstanding poly student to get into university, there are limited places. Why are there limited places if they can all come to the same benchmark? Let's say, for example, you say, okay, you need how many A's and how much score to get in. Then if that person, regardless of whether they're from ITE or anywhere else, they take the same exam, they can also go to university or some other pathways as well.
Right.
I think that's the equality we need.
Do you think 12 is too early, Peter, to perhaps benchmark somebody?
I agree, exactly. So if let's say a person doesn't get the best score, when I finished my PSLE, my father looked at me and he muttered the name of a very awful secondary school and he said it was the end for me. I did all right in life, but
Right.
I had to endure a longer journey to get there, and I think that we should have a plan B. So if you don't do as well in PSLE, you can still go and continue and work rather than just take one score at that age. But there must be examinations along the way. I don't believe in a true school kind of thing.
Yes.
Sure.
Well, great comment there, Peter. Thank you so much. Plan B, and I'm sure that is not only restricted to PSLE because, and down the path,
That's
O
right,
levels,
yes.
A levels. If you kind of fall off the linear process,
There's always a plan.
And even in university, you can fall off the beaten path
Exactly,
as well. Then
exactly.
Always good to have a plan B. 669-1193. Christina joins us now. Christina, good morning, ma'am.
Hi, good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I would think you can change whatever you want. The mindset of every parent must change. Yeah, it's a parent that you have to change. It's not
Thank
the
you,
system.
Christina.
you just delighted our guest,
Indeed.
Jason, who's smiling from ear to ear at the moment. How do you think we can change the mindset of parents, though?
I think it's a little bit hard because most parents are very educated these days. Not like last time, the older parents, where it's okay if you can do whatever you like because they themselves are not educated. Having educated parents, they would want their kids to be educated too because it's a status kind of thing. So it is hard because at the end of the day, you will want your kids to be better than them, if not at the same. They will want them to be able to maintain that kind of status. I've already landed. I'm already an accountant or a banker. My kid cannot be just a plain cook or something like that.
Right.
So it's hard. I think the parent mindset must change. So you can go and do a system like now the as what you say those DSA.
Mm-hmm.
People are pushing their kids, to extreme, to get them into schools of the parents' choice, not the kids' choice.
Indeed.
So it's another kind of stress now. Not only the kids trying to achieve, good academic results.
Yeah.
Knowing that the kids cannot have that kind of results, the parents are pushing them to say, okay, play badminton lah, play football lah, or play tennis lah. That is added stress. And that's why I think the education system should not be giving them more choices. The more choices you are giving them, I think the more stressed up the kids are.
Well,
because the parents will be pushing them too hard.
Which is a good point.
We hear you, Christina, very passionate there, very brutally honest as well, which is a good point. Talking about that we should address it to the parents rather than the kids themselves. And we've got a Mrs. Lim on the line. Good morning, Mrs. Lim.
Good morning to everybody.
Morning.
Incidentally, I'm reading a book, Parentology, by the NYU Dean of Social Science. I would like to just share the paragraph that he said. School mostly matters for socialization and parental bragging rights. What school you pick for your kids will most likely not affect their test scores, but it may socialize their personalities and what economists call non-cognitive skills. And by the time they get to college, that's mostly determined. And while a high status or high tuition school may provide bragging rights and friends in high places, for economic outcomes at least, all that matters is your home environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lim. Falls back on the parents again, I believe, according to our caller, Mrs. Lim.
And continuing, taking your call, 66911 we've got Mr. Tan on the line. Mr. Tan, good morning.
Good morning.
Your comment or question?
I think it is important that adequate focus is placed on the PSLE and everything, because ultimately we are living in a global environment. You look at what other countries are doing with their children. You look at China, you look at Korea, you look at Taiwan, they go all out for their kids' education. So if you do not want to be lagged behind, you have to push to a certain extent and stop protecting the kid, because the kid need to go and compete one day.
Very good point.
So how do you prepare your child for resilience, or how do you give him that resilience when he is in school, sir?
Well, the thing about it is that while you push them, let them try, when they fail, it is for us to provide the support for them if they fail. Then tell them that it's okay, pick yourself up and move on. Because now we can help them to pick themselves up and move on. Later on, they will need to learn that they have to pick themselves up on their own and move on with life. Nobody is going to be there to give you a helping hand. It will be good to have somebody who are your good friends to help you, but you cannot rely on it all the time. Ultimately, we are in a global environment. Stop putting the kids in a nice little greenhouse and pray and assume that the external world don't exist.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tan, and we couldn't agree more, especially in the aspects of...
Jason wants to get in and do this as well.
Jason, your comment quickly before we...
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really... I like what he said about let's teach our children how to bounce back.
Indeed.
I think Singapore children, they don't know what's failure, and if they're failure, they do not know how to recover from failure. I mean, I work with parents from other nationality. You know what I mean? They come to Singapore and all. This child can come to Singapore at primary 3 within 2 years, top the cohort. The sister could be coming at primary 5 within 1 year, one of the better school. The sister come in at pre-1. Today she's on a scholarship from the Singapore government to do chemical engineering. Now, so what's this all about?
Indeed.
It's about, when I talk to this parent, I travel all the way to see them and say, I think we just need to teach them that very important value of hard work. I mean, come on, you talk about character, you talk about values, you talk about resilience. I think there's one important value is hard work. And for that, as someone in the ground, I find that some of our Singapore children, I really need to say that, they're just too comfortable. And we parents like to sugarcoat everything to them. I'm so sorry.
The American Idol sort of education program.
American Idol, I like that.
Yes.
Well, coming up, we'll be continuing our discussion with our guest, Jason Ng, to talk about PSLE. Are we placing too much emphasis on the grades? Sounds like we need to educate parents at the same time, motivate kids to be more hardworking and more resilient. We'll have that discussion further coming up right after this.
In the know, on the go. 938 Now.
It's Talkback on 938 now on your morning fix with Keith D'Souza and myself, Paul Seng. Joining us in the studio today is Mr. Jason Ng, the family life educator with Families for Tomorrow services. And also, he's the founder of PSLE Hub, a portal that equips parents with resources to develop their children holistically. Now, we've had many callers, many sharing their experiences and their points of view as well. And we've still have those callers coming in. And we've got John on the line. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning, folks. How are you?
Good, thanks. Go ahead, sir.
You know, I was wondering, you know, have we really looked at the PSLE and decided that there's a real need for it? Why not let the children stay in their primary and secondary school without having that rude interruption between schools? When I say rude interruption, it places a lot of stress and emphasis simply on going to secondary school. And they're rather young. You're looking at kids that are 11 and 12 years old. Why so much stress? Why not let them stay in their school through primary and secondary and let them build up their confidence? Isn't that what primary and secondary school is really about?
Now, John, can I just ask you, based on your own experience, because it sounds like you were of a different educational system, how has that benefited you, not having that disruption?
I may sound like I have a different educational system, but my family's been in Singapore since 1899. Now, yes, I was schooled in New York City, and it was quite different. And I stayed in school, and you could probably compare it to the IB level, where I stayed through till university. But the A&O levels are really kind of missing the opportunity they have because of the interruptions they have going from primary to secondary, and then from secondary to JC. I think it puts our children at a huge disadvantage. And what it does is it kind of separates a class system as well. For those folks who don't want to put their children through the stress, they'll go via the local international school, which creates the elitist level, right?
If you have the money.
Singaporeans do that. Exactly. But you're then separating and creating a class system if you have the money. So if I have the money, I don't want my child to stress out, I'll put them through the international local system, and then they're going to network with others that are like them. And the networking, socialization, and confidence building that goes on in primary and secondary school is the most important thing. Friends that they make at that age are going to be the friends that they have throughout their career and in their life, right? And the community building that goes on by keeping children in their local schools is completely broken.
We'd like to thank you for your views this morning, John. Thank you for calling in. We want to take as many calls as we can. Before we put these suggestions to Jason, again, that 12-year without a break primary, which you just enter secondary. I don't know. I've gone through the system where you had to have PSLE at 12, whether you liked it or not, whether you were prepared or not. With my case, mother did a whipping and then I got ticking, you see, and then I got through. But then it was just pass or fail in my time, you know.
I guess the part about at 12 years old, because you see now, after you leave PSLE, they have the integrated program.
Indeed.
Where it's about it's the school. They have their own programs, and it's about their creative thinking and all. Then you have the IB, very much humans, and then you have the normal acad, normal tech. So I guess MOE needs to start somewhere.
Okay.
So are you going to start at 16? Are you going to start at 21?
And benchmarking has to start somewhere.
To start. I mean, I was in Sri Lanka, and they give out a scholarship when the child is 10 years old.
Wow.
So that's just so early. I was in Shanghai. They have what they call it a Gaokao. They have to have that very major exam before they go to the tertiary. So I guess they have to start somewhere. But I guess parents, we have to be involved in a way that I know of schools, right? I know of schools in the West, and the cutoff point is very low. But you look at the principal, you look at the management in the school. This principal, they are very highly involved, and they come up with programs that help this child to tell them, hey, it's okay, you come in with 189, you come in with 170 or 140 and all. But we are here to help you. And with the parental involvement, I see this school, they have blossomed for the last 3 years. And this same principal has gone to an earlier school, and they produce 8 A1s in their O levels. So what is this about? At the end of the day, I think a lot of us, it's very easy to criticize, to put down the system and all. Now talk is cheap, but at the end of the day, how parents are willing, right, to be involved. I see those parents where they're involved with the principal to help out the child, and they disseminate the information to the other parents and all, say, hey, all is not lost, and let's work with our children and let's don't give up in them. The grades is not everything, and I see positive results. So what I'm trying to share in this program is that I think instead of just saying that this is not important, this is not important, where is the parents involved? That's why I really like what the other parents are saying. That end of the day, parents, we need to get involved in the life of our children.
And don't sugarcoat it for the children.
Yes.
Well, we're taking all your calls, as many as we can, and we've got Mr. Ng on the line. Good morning, Mr. Ng. Your comments.
Hi, morning.
Go ahead, please, sir.
Okay, my comment is that education is actually very much required so that students can understand, the algorithm of problem solving. But we must all recognize that education is set based on the controlled environment, whereas, in the working world, everything is dynamic. So that's what differentiates people who did well in studies versus those who did well at work eventually. Coming back to the school system, I've been to a graduation ceremony for my primary school kid recently. I think the school still emphasizes on the top 5, top 10, based on score, based on what character awards.
Hard to shake.
Highly, highly set.
Hard habit to break.
I guess sometimes the school got to promote themselves too.
Indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Ng, for that comment. And we've got Buck on the line. Mr. Buck, your comment. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Okay. Parents should be involved. Yes, I agree. But are our parents being involved too much? This is the point I have always been emphasizing to people. The parents should not get down to nitty-gritty detail, deciding on everything for them. They have to train them in values, train them to think, train them to decide. We have to slowly cultivate them from young. We cannot throw them after primary school, after secondary school into society. I think they have to think about values. They have to think about what's right, what's wrong, and then take responsibility for their actions. Slowly, when they are young, they learn. We get involved. We want to teach. We want to help them in their school studies. We want to help them in everything. Until the kids don't decide for themselves, they can't think for themselves.
Indeed.
And they just carry on doing what their parents want them to do. And think this is the area that I think parents have failed. And I think whatever your guest is doing, that is the area that he has to change the mind of the thinking of the parents. Their role is not there to be teachers. Their role is there to be parents. And parents should just guide their students. Whatever educations you go into, whether it's in Singapore, it's in England, in America and everything, you can't be the teacher, okay? That is how I feel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Buck, for your comments this morning.
Thank you very much. And it's not how much the parents is involved, it's how the parents are involved, if I'm summarizing what he says accurately. Now, we've got not much time left, so we're going to squeeze in just one more call. And Andy, you're on the line. Andy, good morning. Your comment.
Good morning. I'm a parent of a child who's just received his results, and I have another one at the wings. I do agree with the previous caller that we are probably taking this too early. Different kids are at different stages of development, and it's very harsh to expect all kids to be mentally ready for this such a big exam. And the second point I want to raise is, the kids are at a point where they are learning how to socialize, and at this very moment, as of today, I'm watching my son savor the last few moments of last few weeks with his classmates, and it's heartbreaking because they know at the end of this couple of weeks before Sec 1, they will break up. They will all go on their ways. So why not, have a system where yes, there are continuous tests and there should be alternative pathways along the way and testing along the way, as opposed to just one very harsh, very sharp exam, which at the end of the day, when you grow up and go to university, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. So that's just my input from the perspective of a parent.
And we appreciate that input. Thank you so much, Andy. And with time running out, we'd just like to leave the closing words to our guest, Jason.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I always tell parents, whatever the results, you just have to affirm your child that it's not your grades that matter most to
So
daddy and mommy.
parents just support the child through thick, through thin.
Yeah, and my parting shot is please don't compare. Just don't compare. You know, at this juncture now, it's very easy to compare. Compare the grades, compare the school they are going, compare the CCA that they get in, right?
Gosh.
Compare the you know, so we just need to, because my mom is a PhD in comparative studies.
Okay.
She compared me with everything. So
I had parents like that too.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, so we're together.
That's right.
And I think at the end of the day, do get involved. Not like what the president, not too involved, but get involved in the network, get involved in the community.
The how rather than
rather than the what, you know. Yes. So thank you.
Well, Jason Ng, thank you so much for joining us, family life educator with Families for Tomorrow's Services, joining us this morning on our discussion about PSLE. Are we placing too much emphasis on our grades? Well, we may conclude the conversation right now, but carry on the conversation on our Facebook page. Share with us your thoughts, your views, your comments on this subject matter.